Northminster is on the verge of flourishing, moving from success to significance within the local community.
We need to keep modern, to keep current, to keep pushing.
The church has always been kind of a source for another family.
This church is what my daughter will get married in. This church is where my husband and I will have spent most of our marriage.
With the new building in place and handicap accessible and expanded parking and perhaps a larger footprint, the underlying vision and mission of this church is to serve the local community.
So this is that point where we decide, are we going to open up? Are we going to open up to what's around us? Are we going to open up to new members, to the community? Are we going to open up to an exciting future? Or are we going to stay just kind of the way we are? We could stay the way we are, and eventually we'll get smaller and we'll die, and we won't be here for our children or grandchildren.
I think there's a divine hand in all this. I do. I think that, our discernment process as a church and then as a committee was thoughtful and prayerful to help our church continue to grow in its outreach program.
Well, isn't that interesting?
Wrote this article.
Revisiting the early years.
Yeah. In late 47, we built the church that exists there today. But you wonder about the wisdom of a presbytery that agrees to a church and puts 4 or 5 lots aside to build a church. Today, you couldn't build a parking lot with that. So Northminster's been pedaling uphill ever since that, and still trying to rectify that initial mistake, as you know, with this campaign. The initial pastor was a guy named Ray Cloyd Downs, who was a very lively guy, and he got a reputation for touring the neighborhood in a white t-shirt on a bicycle. I belonged to that church when it had 2,900 members in the same location. And it had 1,100 kids in Sunday school. And then we bring in 49 a guy named Wilbur R. Klosterhouse. And then we filled his vacancy with a guy named A. Howard Lindquist, who brought us to our apex, a fabulous preacher. And he brought them in by the droves. And then we bring in Fred Mathias after that. And Fred was a fantastic guy, but there was, I think, a cultural change. After his tragic death, we had some interims, and then we're going on now to Terry Thomas, who's got the thing turned around.
I look at these people that I love so much and to think of what they went through. It's just, it's a horrific thought. So I think the church has been through a journey that most churches should never have to go through.
We tend to think about the spirit more. Northminster's not your normal church. Northminster's at a critical point in its life where we've come through some hard times, emotionally, financially, and in terms of membership, and we're ready to move into the future.
You know, the fact that it's taken 10 years to get to this project tells me that nobody wants to do it. You know, it's a painful thing to go through that, oh gosh, tear this down and build that up, and, all the work, the consensus building that it takes in order to raise the money has got to be a tremendous task.
Out of that process came 10 priorities that session agreed that these were the priorities that we want to focus on.
Accessibility was one, worship space was another, gathering space was an issue, heating and air conditioning system is an issue. Some of the maintenance issues in this campaign have to be addressed whether we do anything else or not. So the cost is real. And for the $4.5 million, we get a building that's going to last us years. We get a building that meets our needs today. It's going to meet our needs well into the future.
There's your ordinary gift, the one you give on a weekly basis into the offering plate. Sometimes you're asked to give an extraordinary gift, and that's what this capital campaign is. You're asked to dig a little deeper, give a little farther for some very special need, and in this case, it's to enhance our building facilities.
What's going to happen out here?
This is the first place people come when they arrive at Northminster, and if you come into the parking lot, you have a door there and a door there and a door there, and you have no idea where you're supposed to go. So the new gathering space will be here, and there will be a clear entrance that says, "I am the door, I am open, please come in and join us." We don't have enough parking on Sunday, we don't have enough parking on Wednesday nights, we don't have enough parking for weddings and for a lot of funerals. And so our hope is to expand the parking lot. While we'll lose a few spaces out here with the construction of the gathering space, we're going to gain spaces to the north of the building. These 3 houses will come down and this will all become parking.
Where the parking lot is now, there was a big white house sitting there. To destroy a house to put parking is not new with us. We've done it once before. But the parking problem is a matter of culture. And today, it's a major impediment to church growth.
Once you walk through the gathering space, you will be in what's now this entrance. You'll take a ramp up along the side of the building that will take you out to the narthex, and you'll be on the level of the sanctuary. So no longer will you have to manage these 4 stairs in a walker or a wheelchair or with a stroller. You also won't have to go down this kind of dark, dingy hallway because there will be a new elevator that takes you to all 3 levels of the church. You'll notice when you walk in that the chancel is going to come out further into the sanctuary. It will come out to about here, which gives us much more space.
We just don't have room to move around up there. I suppose it's a good problem because to some extent the choir has grown, and we just don't have the physical space to move around.
The musical program here has been just phenomenal. It's one of the things that draws so many people in, and I think what we found is a number of people stay due to that one fact alone. The music gets them into the church, they see what great people are here, and they want to stay and experience more. So I think we could use that as a vehicle to grow the mission of the church.
Our boilers are 50 years old, and one of them is in serious need of replacement and the other one is wearing out. So neither of them are very efficient. With new HVAC systems, we're going to cut down on the noise that they create during worship. We're going to make heating and cooling more appropriate to the building, where we won't have to heat or cool large spaces when only small spaces are being used. And we'll also make them much more energy efficient. This room will become our new nursery. This will give the kids a whole lot more space, which they desperately need because we have more and more children every week.
We want to do more, but we're limited by space.
So by moving the nursery to the Knox room, we centralize the noise, the confusion, the chaos, the excitement, the fun, the children, and the parents all in one place.
Sometimes we have the different age children due to space limits, and we need to keep them divided by age.
On the second floor of the education wing, we're going to open up with a balcony. Oh, look at that beautiful gathering space down there.
You'll have people that will say, well, I'm always able to find a parking spot, or I have no trouble getting into the sanctuary, or I'm really not that interested in having a place to gather after a service might be over. But the reality is that, people as a congregation, we will, come to an agreement that really we do need to do something. The way that we use the church now is different from the way it was used for, generations before us.
So we're looking and saying, okay, here's what we're going to do. We are going to build this building here in Indianapolis. That's going to do mission and ministry here in our town, and we're going to look at doing mission and ministry outside of our town and reaching beyond that with 10% of what we're giving. Part of me says it shouldn't really be a surprise that we're going to come and ask everyone to pitch in to do this. That this has been something that Northminster's known it's needed to do for 10 years, and now is the time.
the most important part of this campaign is that it really does open us up to the future. It really says we care enough to maintain our building, we care enough to take care of those things that we haven't done a great job caring for in the past. We care enough for our children that we want them to have good facilities, and we want to leave them a building that's in good shape.